Wanted to start off with Governor Evers appearing on WISN's Upfront yesterday, talking about Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. We were just talking about this. I think it was just last week.
It was last week.
Because Robin Vos has talked about the budget and budget requests and also those lazy, apparently, state employees working from home. But we had a number of clips we wanted to share with you. Why don't you set up this first one, Greg?
This first one is actually, I think Robin Vos was on 2 weeks ago on Upfront as well, having these discussions because the budget's coming up. There's going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of dealing, if you will. And one of the things that Robin Vos said, the Popcorn King said in the interview, was his thoughts on certain budget requests as far as education and that one. And this clip here is Robin Vos talking about budget requests made by the UW system as well as the Secretary of
DPI.
Thank you. You never remember that acronym.
Department of Public Education.
Thank you very much. Calvin, can you play that first one?
The governor in his statement talking about the surplus looked to the next state budget, as I'm sure you saw. With Politics, our editorial partner reports, agencies requesting $2.1 billion in additional general purpose revenue in the first year of the new budget, $1.3 billion in the second. Revenues obviously going up as well. In your mind, from what you have seen so far, what is dead on arrival?
We're not going to give $1 billion to the university. I can tell you that's probably not going to happen.
Sorry, education.
I think it's unlikely that we're going to give Superintendent Underly's request for this massive increase in education spending when we just gave the largest increase in a generation like 18 months ago. So that is nothing but a political document from her.
Yeah, they gave us an increase after not doing anything for years and years and years and years.
And now they won't increase it at all. They'll just rely upon the municipalities to raise their own taxes, which he says in that interview, he has no problem with municipalities raising their own taxes for educational purposes. But, $4.6 billion in surplus, we couldn't invest that money in education. Nah, never. Well, Governor Evers has some thoughts on Speaker Vos. He said those yesterday on Upfront. Calvin, can you play that second clip?
Speaker Vos told us the UW funding is dead on arrival in his words.
Yeah, so was shared revenue last time, and we got through that. I mean, he can talk all he wants, but you know what? He ain't governor, and he's not in charge of the Senate. He's in charge of the Assembly. The Assembly looks a lot different than it did last time around.
Not different enough.
So I take his comments as it's the way he works.
He ain't governor.
Well, no, he ain't.
And he ain't got a line item veto either.
There's that too.
Yeah.
I do want to say, I do think that asking for $4 billion was kind of, please, come on.
Well, I think also you start big. You say $4 billion and maybe your goal is 2, maybe your goal is 1.5, and you start big and you say, all right, let's work our way down.
Part of the negotiation.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to be like, if you need $7,500 for something, you're not going to be like, can I have $7,500? You say, hey, can I have 15 grand? Let's work it down.
True.
You know what I mean? So,
but that was a pretty substantial ask.
But I think, as we talked about last time when it came to Robin Vos and in this interview with Robin Vos on Upfront, he makes this big, we gave more money than in a generation. Yeah, but you weren't giving much to begin with in the first place. So don't pat yourself on the back too much here, buddy.
Right.
And now you won't give any more, and you're making these municipalities raise their own taxes. That's not how this should work. They shouldn't have to go to referendum every single time they need more money. The state should have a desire to, wait for the word, invest in our children.
But that's not the way they view it.
Never.
I'm fairly certain they view it not as an investment, as throwing the money away.
Oh, no. And we're going to talk more about this with Heather from the Wisconsin Public Education Network, too. Is like they think the fix is just vouchers. Vouchers this, voucher that, voucher that. Everyone get a voucher. And we're going to talk more about that with her. And as you were saying, the lack of accountability,
It's astonishing what's been going on in some other states that are really, really pushing hard for school vouchers.
Jane, I knew a guy who started his own school in Racine, like a super Catholic school in Racine, and got voucher money, and it shut down within, I think, a year or two.
Yeah, there's so little oversight.
Yep.
There are so few requirements.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe the three of us should start our own school, you guys.
Calvin, you want to start a school?
You want to start a school, Cal?
Sure, I'm in.
Cool, excellent.
We'll call it Big Chungus.
Big Chungus U. VCU. And our buses will all be called Schoolie McSchoolface.
Oh, I like that.
But so the other thing that and this was kind of odd to me, it kind of came out of nowhere with Robin Voss's interview on Upfront, was the remote worker topic. Yeah, I know that like private corporations have been really trying to get their people back into the buildings, and this has, by the way, folks, nothing to do with quality of service, quality of work. This has
Productivity.
This has everything to do with real estate. This has everything to do with wasting money on buildings they own instead of maybe divesting or selling them off and just,
repurposing them somehow.
Exactly. So this is Robin Vos. This is from his Upfront interview a couple weeks ago, talking about what he thinks should be happening with remote workers who work for the state. Calvin?
I think we need to look and say, how are we going to keep Wisconsin competitive? In my mind, that's by making sure we have people who are working for the state of Wisconsin. We still have far too many employees that are working from home. We had that audit that came out over the summer. I think it was some employees hadn't been in the office in months and months.
State employees?
State employees, yeah, state employees. That's really an embarrassment. So number one, we need to make sure people are actually doing their job.
You want to force them back into the office?
I would love to be able to say people have to be back in the office at least 3 or 4 days a week. I mean, we saw Amazon, which was 3 days a week, just announced by January 1st, 100% of people are going to be back in the office. I think we need to look at how state government functions, and one of the reasons that we have not had the services we want to deliver is because a lot of employees aren't working, or they're working only from home and not doing it very well with little supervision. So I would love for us to be able to say, hey, if we're going to be giving more money to agencies, we need to make sure we're actually performing.
Yeah, I got a couple things there with Mr. Voss.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, this is the guy who works for 2 months out of the year for the state. Right? They're on vacation for 10 months.
Yeah.
So don't give me all this about the quality of the work is suffering if they're not in the office 3 or 4 days a week. Give me a break. And the other thing that he refers to is all this data that they have.
Yes.
It doesn't, at least he hasn't shared, or I haven't seen anything that shows that productivity is down, that work is not getting done. They're just not there. And they're working from home. And the other thing, too, he talks about wanting to attract people in the workforce and have quality people in the workforce. A lot of people like working remotely.
Yes.
And that is attractive to them.
That is it. To me, you say you want to make the state attractive to out-of-state people to come here and work. When you take away an opportunity like that, you make yourself immediately unattractive.
Yes.
If you have someone who can work great and they work, I mean, granted, I think that state jobs should probably go to state people who live in the state. But if you have opportunities, that just makes you more attractive. And remote working is one of them. And this whole notion of him saying that we have the data, where is the data?
Well, exactly. Let's get into specifics.
Yeah, because the department heads came, and I'm trying to find it right here. Here, I found it right here. It said, I'm sorry. I talk too much.
We're going to go to break. We're going to continue this, and we have another clip from Governor Evers that we're going to play as well. Do you work remotely? Are you not getting anything done? 855-752-4842. You're listening to Matenaer on air on the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back.